The title of the book is Beyond Cosmic Dice, Moral Life in a Random World. And the title hopefully is going to catch your attention, but it also is meant to convey the idea that we can move beyond the hand that we're dealt with when we're born and really choose our own path to a better life. The book is about morality without religion, going back to our core values as human beings, going back to our basic humanity to create a whole new way of looking at morality. There are a number of other books out in the market right now that could be considered similar. One is The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins, a great author. And the big difference between my book and those is that I try to synthesize the issues of science, morality, and religion and how that affects the issues of moral behavior, where the others focus largely on the questions of science and religion. They don't try to then ask how that then relates to our moral behavior. I'm a scientist, and with that background, I was fortunate enough to work in the Clinton-Gore administration as the Assistant Director for International Science and Technology. And from that, I had a nice, interesting global perch about our policy positions and their effect throughout the world. But why I'm really interested in writing the book, and I think what really qualifies me to write the book, is that I am a concerned human being. I think that we can do better, that we should do better with the world that we inherited from our ancestors. The incentive to write the book came from many sources, but those sources really are embedded in today's policies and how they're being implemented. Our lack of support for stem cell research, the fact that we're ignoring climate change, the fact that we have an assault on the environment, we're reducing the quality of our water and our air, we're going backwards in time, we're destroying the Clean Air Act. We are implementing the Mexico City policy, which was a policy that was inaugurated during the Reagan administration, abandoned during the Clinton administration, and then taken up again by the Bush administration, in which we deny funding for any clinic in the developing world that even mentions the word abortion. The problem with that is that these clinics often provide primary health care for millions of women. So because there is a religious influence in our government policy, we have the effect of millions and millions of lives in the developing world by denying women access to primary health care and access to any aspects of family planning. So those kinds of policies and the impact of those policies are the things that led me to want to write the book. The audience for my book is really anybody with an open mind about how we can create a better world for ourselves and for our children. Well, my background in academics is a little bit varied. I have a PhD in neurophysiology and marine biology, but I'm actually an evolutionary biologist. It's a little bit convoluted, but that's the nature of academics. And I was a scientist in the University of California system for many years, and then from there went to Washington, D.C. as a science policy advisor. And the reason why I did that was because I felt I could have more impact in policy than I could as an actual lab scientist. And I think that that was better suited to my personality. Prior to going to the White House, after moving to Washington, D.C., I worked at the Agency for International Development, which is a part of the State Department, although they'll deny that, but it is really part of the State Department. And there I created the position of Chief Environmental Officer because I was concerned that the agency was spending millions, actually hundreds of millions of dollars on environmental programs throughout the world, but there was no coordination of those programs to try to create some kind of coherent, integrated whole, some kind of global effect and impact of our programs. And so I spent 5 years at the Agency for International Development in that position, eventually overseeing 3,000 environmental projects in 82 countries. The nature of the book is one that is a conversation between me and the reader. I am trying to incorporate what I've learned from my conversations with other people, from my life experience, from my professional experience in Washington, D.C., from my academic background. I'm trying to synthesize that into a coherent picture that's easy to understand, easy to digest, fun to read, but with an important message when the end of the day has come. I believe the book needs to be published now and rather urgently because humanity finds itself at an important fork in the road. We can take one path that I think is going to lead to our accelerated extinction. That's the path that we're currently on. Or we can do something that no other biological creature has ever done, and we can make a choice. We can take a different path. We can take a path towards sustainability, toward using our resources in a way that can sustain us and our children into the indefinite future. We can live in just societies. We have that ability to make that choice, and because we have the ability to make the choice, I think we have a moral obligation to do so. And I think we're at a very critical time in our history where we really are forced to make the decision on which of those two paths we want to go down.